Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Salaam Alaikum, and a big hello from London from METV. Now, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਸ਼ੌਕ ਹੋਣਾ ਇਹ ਕੌਣ ਆ ਗਿਆ METV ਵਿੱਚ? My name's Raj Dhanda. I'm from Raj and Pablo, and we specialise in Bollywood. Pablo sends his apologies. We're busy doing a show with Shah Rukh Khan at the moment for Saturday, so do tune into that one as well. So he couldn't be here. So you've got me. Now, we're very excited about this. One of the biggest things that METV, one of the oldest, most distinguished channels broadcasting Asian product in the UK, is launching Rajneeti tonight. Rajneeti is all about what's happening in the leading economy of the world, America. Now, this year sees the American elections with Mr. Trump, who's very notable with it and very outspoken, and Biden challenging him. But the interesting thing is, Indian Americans, people of Indian origin, are playing a key part and could actually swing who actually wins the election. And we're delighted to have three key American people, three American Indians who join us live from the States. And if we can go first of all to Mr. Christian Bhatia, who is joining us live from Maine. Christian, how are you, sir?
I am fine, thank you, and thank you for having me.
And we've also got Priti Upal, who's in Las Vegas, I believe, and you're a geopolitical analyst.
Namaste, everyone. Yes, I'm based in Los Angeles, but I'm calling to you from beautiful Las Vegas, and I work as a political analyst and a media personality. I have my own radio show, and my book is coming out later this year, so I'm very excited to be on your show. Thank you.
What's the title of your book?
It's on feminism. It's new feminism.
Good. And Sir Christian Bhatia, going back to yourself, what do you, if you could give your introduction, what you do in America?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I just before I tell about myself, the Trump and Biden election is not less masala than Bollywood. So we'll find out. But yes, I'm a urologist, and I've invented few things. So I go by surgeon, inventor, and author. And my book is one published already, is Journey from Life to Life. It's available in Amazon in here and there. But I've also got a meditation app, which is an advanced meditation app. It's called Relax with 2X.
Why is that? Why 2 X's?
Well, you relax a little extra.
And we're also joined by Ravindra Shukla, who's in Virginia, in Maine.
Very good evening, Kuldeep ji. Thanks for having us on the program. And namaste all the viewers. I'm excited to be a part of this group. So just a brief introduction about myself. I am in Fairfax, Virginia, very close to Washington, D.C. I am in the AI and life science industry right now. I'm a published author. I have a lot of interest in social activity and political activity. And that's the reason that we are going to discuss more on the program here.
I want to start with one of the reasons METV decided to do Rajneeti is, for the first time forever, the 4.3 million Indian origin people are Americans, and 2.3 million will be voting. And apparently it's one of the most powerful blocs now. And both sides, both Republicans and Democrats, realise the power of the Indian vote. Can we start off with you, Christian? Can you tell us more about that? Why are Indian Americans, key voters now?
Yeah, definitely, Kuldeep ji. So the reason we if you look at the political equation right now, Indians have their population has grown quite significantly, especially in the swing states, which are going to matter very critical for this election. And that is the reason, if you realize this time there is a special reach to this group, and they are going to play a very critical role because of their presence in states like Philadelphia, Michigan, North Carolina, Florida. So these are they are going to be very, very decisive factor in the coming election.
And the Indian vote, Indian American vote, has usually been seen as a democratic vote. Is that still the case?
Yes, so there's 4 million Indian Americans, and about 1.8, I think, will be voting this election. They happen to be the most educated and wealthiest ethnic group in the greatest country in the world. It's just that they haven't been seen as a powerful voting bloc in the past before until this election, because I think everything is up for grabs. And you're right, traditionally, the Indian Americans have always voted Democrat. I think 2016 it was 77%, and before that it was almost 80%. However, this election is a interesting one. I think the community is very divided. I can tell you it's not going to be 77% come November. I think some of the recent stances that the Democratic Party has taken towards actions of the Indian government, obviously we'll discuss this, I'm sure, in the show.
Yeah.
As the show goes along, but these attitudes and stances, I think, have not gone well with a chunk of our community here. They feel that the party is a little bit antagonistic, and an attack on the government of India is an attack on the community, and it has not gone down well with them. So there is a shift to the center, and there is actually quite a push to the right. And I think Trump and his campaign are very, very smart. They have obviously, they have seen this. I think they've been a big friend of the Indian American community for a long time, even before Trump ever became president. I think his ties with Modi and the Indian American community, because he's done business in Gujarat and in India, is very tight. And I think he understands the diaspora probably better than maybe the DNC does right now. And he knows that they will be crucial, especially in those swing states. So I think it's very exciting. I'm very proud to see the community, I think, wake up a little bit and vote with their heart and their conscience, not just how they've always voted, just because they resonate with the values espoused by the DNC. Maybe they did 20 years ago, but I think a lot has changed in that time. There's a lot of water under the bridge now, and I want to see the community work with vote for who has the better policies for them, and also foreign policy vis-a-vis India. I think that is going to be the central theme for them.
But Krishna, I have to ask you, if you could come in here, but aren't you all Americans first and not Indian, so you would vote for what's best for America?
That sounds very, very true. But all countries, original country is always in the heart of all the Indians, and even for if it is Irish origin, they have their heart as well. So how it affects India will be very important going forward. And I think one of the shift happened when Howdy moment, when Modi and Trump shared the stage. I think the shift has started there, and hopefully, I think it is continuing, and it probably is not going to be 80-20. That's always that we hear about.
But I'm going to be play the devil's advocate here as well, in the sense of Trump has been vilified by the press. He's not got, he's very outspoken, and some of the things he said people don't agree with, and it polarizes people. What do you feel about the Trump factor in all this? How is he appealing to the Indian Americans?
Let's start this one by saying that if you watch the lecture talk by Ivanka Trump, and she said that he could communicate better, he could have better tweets. So who else knows better than his daughter? So yes, communication wise, he has said things probably he could have said differently, and he could tweet differently, but Trump is Trump, and I think people will have to know that and know him. But yes, some of what he says is taken verbatim and used against him. I agree there.
Well, at the same time, Biden is Biden. He was 8 years the vice president. He was very pro-India in his outlook at that time. He was for the Security Council. He put India forward. So where is he in his stance towards India?
You person in the political scenario. If you look at his stand against Kashmir, against CAM, people very well know what is his background, what he is trying to support. So people are asking these tough questions. You just can't hide behind, like, if somebody is not having a very polished tweet, doesn't mean they are not standing with India. Look at like kind of cooperation Indian government is getting against countering the external enemies. Like today we are fighting against China, we are fighting against like our multi-front war on the like border. And look at we need to understand one thing. India and US interest is not just local, it's geopolitical. Right now, if you look at from partnership perspective, it's not just about one policy, but foreign policy in terms of like maintaining the peace and challenges and keeping the economy together. India is a very, very key partner for US. And this point has been reiterated by Trump very well. And that is one of the reasons the equation between Modi and Trump is very good.
I mean, the personal relationship is fantastic. The personal relationship is absolutely fantastic. They're both world-class politicians and stars. But at the same time, is Trump not just doing this out of default because of the China issue? That's why India and China and America are getting together.
And that's very we need to understand what is really it's not without taking anybody's side. What is exactly happening on geopolitical scenario. Look at the situation. I simply say compare the number of war and then what was the international scenario from 2008 to 2016. Look at the Middle East, look at all the foreign policy and what was US role, and even compare what has happened from 2016 to 2020. Things are much better in the Middle East, in ISS, Syria, Libya, and then right now when the China is like creating so much of heat, we need country like US support. So we need somebody who is going to walk the talk, and then is going to stand with us. So people knows these critical things. They are not going to go on the look and feel and talk and tweets. They understand what is happening, and that is the reason they're coming forward nowadays.
Well, okay, then I have to ask all of you individually, and please answer this. Biden has got a secret weapon, not so secret now. Indian origin American, Kamala Harris. Will that affect the votes? Will more Indian Americans vote for the Democrats because of her?
I'll go. So, yes, I mean, she may be half Indian, but I think in her career, she's not one that has identified herself purely on her Indian heritage. In fact, I think she has always tried to play the African American card, which doesn't make sense considering she's not African American, or the black card. And I think the Indian American community is wise enough to know that it's only after she was picked as the VP that suddenly she's found her Indian heritage and she wants to really showcase that. Of course, there's a chunk of our diaspora who's happy to see at least someone half Indian or a woman of color who's so close to this such an important role on the global stage. However, there's also a chunk who find this quite hypocritical, to be honest. They just think it's a bit rich. And funnily enough, it doesn't matter if you're Indian or not. We have several Indian representatives in Congress, but what's matter is their stands. And I'm sorry to say that some of these elected officials have actually gone against India, whether it was 370 or CAA and NRC and so on. These issues are extremely important to India, and they have had enormous support. They were passed democratically in the upper and lower houses of the Indian Parliament. I think the community looks at interference in these issues as interference in internal matters of a sovereign country.
Indeed.
So whether you're Indian or not, I don't think that the DNC should be taking the interest that they're taking in something that's happening in another country's affairs. And at the same time, overlooking some of the other human rights atrocities that happens in the subcontinent. So I think the community is obviously wise enough to see all of this. They care about the person's stance on policy, and I'm sorry, but Kamala Harris has not always seen the Indian perspective on Kashmir and so on, and based on the powerful lobbies that are out there, she says what she has said. I mean, I'm sure if educated and pushed enough, she could change her stance. But that hasn't happened yet. So I think clearly the diaspora is very divided on that. Also, the VP as such doesn't have such a powerful role in foreign policy or policy making.
Right.
It's only when she would become the president that when she would actually have the executive power to really go all the way. However, considering Biden's I think his age and some other issues, I think the VP has a very good chance of being the president if there is a Biden election. So that's something that the diaspora is also taking into account. So for the people who are not completely sold on Kamala Harris, the fact that she's just a VP actually scares them, because tomorrow she will be the president, and that might not go down with their own views on the US's foreign policy towards India and so on. So these are things that I think the diaspora is seriously deliberating on, and I just hope that they make the right decision at the end.
But open up to the panel as well. When she was appointed, the Indian press were like, this is really good for India. She's got a connection with India. She'll be more pro-India than Trump would be. What do you guys say to that?
So Kuldeep ji, if you look at media, like a lot of media houses, they are like biased in kind of like the agenda they want to propagate. So although just making dosa behind the scene might sound like Indian, but that is not exactly Indian, as Preeti ji said. So they understand the differences, and we have seen the Indian media houses how they have been tracking many issues which are internal to India.
Yes.
So people know when media houses are talking, they know who has got the credibility, who has got the credential. So if you look at like all the media houses did not go, they're not excited by the Kamala Harris. They're only few, and then people know the reason for the excitement. Many times these are the same media houses which support the voice of the people who are asking like if the army had a surgical strike or not. So their bias is like completely open, and people are not going to get impacted by them.
And I want to open this up as well. Both India and America have so much in common. World democracies, world-class democracies, culture, ingrained film industry, and world-class leaders as well, throughout history as well. But both Modi and Trump, they're strong men, and Trump is famous for his America First policy, and Mr. Modi ji is doing Make in India. So will that not lead to America and India actually going separate if Trump wins?
So you want to take this?
Raj, that brings to the point,
I'm
one
the
great
devil's
country,
advocate.
and that's why I have my background. You can see the Himalayas, which is great.
Yes.
So one great country and then the other great country. If they both want to be great, there is nothing wrong with it.
Right.
What you are saying is that if they both start competing on the same front, that may be a problem. And I don't see that as a problem, because even in schools and colleges, when kids go, they all want to excel. It doesn't mean that everybody is coming down. It means that they all can be excellent. So my feeling is that if they work together and if they look out for each other, then they can be greater. Both countries can be greater rather than pull each other down. Is that what you're looking for, Raj, or did you make another point?
No, I wanted to ask about, in the sense of with things changing, the world order changing, we don't know what's going to happen, if there's going to be more crisis or God forbid, a war or anything like that. Both Modi and Trump believe in their countries first. So will they not go out for their national interest?
I think they are. And they, they will be. But, again, the same thing with China. China is becoming more assertive. They want to become the number one. So where will that lead? At least India has never tried that. And I don't know if US will continue trying that with India. But India never wanted to be number one or something, even though it was number one for many, many centuries.
Yes.
But that was not in the genetic makeup of India. But yes, India should get back to its glory. And if Modi talks about 5 trillion economy, I mean, that's a reach goal. When Trump talks about 10 million jobs, it may be a reach, but at least they are setting high standards and high level of goals.
You know, in this crazy, sad times at the moment, that's a note of optimism. And at that note of optimism, Rajneeti on METV will be taking a wee commercial break. We'll be back straight after this.
MATV Mobile brings you amazing local and international offers. Choose your bundle and enjoy unlimited UK minutes and texts. 30-day contract, no credit checks, EU roaming and free incoming calls whilst roaming in India. For details, log on to matvmobile.com or call 0208 795 0026. MATV Mobile. यूके में हिंदी का पहला अखबार जगत वाणी.
Air India introduces additional flights from London Heathrow to Mumbai and a new direct flight from London Stansted to Mumbai from 14th February 2020. Fly in luxury on Air India Dreamliner with extra legroom in economy and flat beds in business class. For attractive fares, contact your travel agent now or visit airindia.in.
हेस्टन हाइड वेस्ट लंदन के सबसे शानदार होटल्स में से एक with 303 air conditioned rooms and suites, one of the largest banquet spaces in London, meeting room for up to 1200 people, conferences, musical function, weddings या कोई भी गैदरिंग. मनपसंद भोजन, शानदार आयोजन और बेहतरीन वेन्यू, 400 गाड़ियों की पार्किंग के साथ. Heston Hyde. For bookings, call 0208 572 1818.
चलो घर बनाते हैं और आपको मिलवाते हैं आपके अपने बिल्डर से. सिंह ब्रदर बिल्डर्स. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जसवंत सिंह ठेकेदार. हर तरह का बिल्डिंग वर्क, न्यू बिल्डिंग, एक्सटेंशन, रेनोवेशन, पैटियो, गार्डन, गैरेज या शेड, हर तरह का काम अनुभवी कारीगरों द्वारा. सेटिस्फेक्शन गारंटी. 50 साल के अनुभव के साथ सिंह ब्रदर बिल्डर्स. फॉर फ्री एस्टिमेट कॉल 07930 508888. That is 07930 508888.
The Akshay Patra Foundation has taken on a massive initiative to make sure that millions of people receive a freshly prepared plate of food. We are now serving over 1 million families, children, daily wage earners, migrant labor, and generally people who are deprived of a basic plate of food. We just do not want anyone to go to bed hungry. Please join us in this massive endeavor. This is a fantastic opportunity for all of us to come together and help millions. Every little penny that you donate will make a massive difference to hundreds of people. Thank you.
Welcome back to the new Rajneeti show exclusively on METV. We've been broadcasting in the United Kingdom, worldwide, and especially in America. One of the biggest events is happening, which will change the course of history, the US American elections. And do you know why? because of Indian Americans. Indian Americans are going to be the catalyst that may decide the outcome. Will it be Trump? Will he make a comeback? Will he be the man of the moment because of the Indian American vote? Or will it be Biden with his Indian ally, Kamala Harris? Now, I'm joined by a wonderful panel. Guys, I hope you enjoyed your wee break and you enjoyed all our adverts. So we had a very interesting point. We're talking internationally now. Now, you know, one thing a lot of people worldwide don't know, what's it like being an Indian American and dealing with American politics? How are Indians treated? Who's better, the Democrats or the Republicans? In your view, sir, Krishnan.
Shukla ji jai.
Yeah, definitely. So Kuldeep ji, it is good that now Indians are getting more attention in this very critical election, and their strength is being recognized. And what we are trying to do, we are trying to basically educate the people. Start separating a fact than your emotion. Keep your background, emotion, those things separately, and look at what people like. What are the policy are like? What are the fact like behind different people decisions, and how it is going to impact the US internal things, how it is going to impact the world politics, and how it is going to strengthen India and US relation. So we are trying to, our campaign is more about फिर एक बारी ट्रम्प की दूसरी पारी. It's very similar to फिर एक बार मोदी सरकार.
Very similar, right? Yeah. So who borrowed what from who? Who borrowed what from who?
Absolutely. Our focus basically, we don't want to take the side, but we want to bring the fact in front of the people. People are smart, they can make their own decision. So we are just playing a key role in social media so that awareness can be raised, and then people can decide what is what is the right thing in the long run. And that's our core focus. And we are trying to cover the various angles. Foreign policies, we are covering the economic things. We are covering the internal infrastructure. We are also covering what has been done within the country. So we are trying to give a flavor of economy, foreign policy, war situations, and then the global, the political scenarios.
So, you know, Trump's policies in the sense of America first and wanting to recreate jobs for Americans in America, how has that affected the Indian population, the Indian American population? Has it been seen as a positive thing or a negative thing?
Point, Kuldeep ji. So definitely there are few people who are on H1 and who gets disturbed when there is a more focus on the internal kind of there is a challenge on the immigration side. But we need to understand what is being propagated by Democrat. If you look at a lot of lot of H1 green card issues, they happened more during the Obama time. What Trump has done, he has been much more vocal for the legal immigration. He is against illegal immigration. He is not against the legal immigration. So we need to understand, see, every country needs skilled labor, and that is the way America has progressed. And in fact, this is good for India. If a lot of skilled people are going to remain in India, this is going to be a golden opportunity even to change the Indian economy and bring a lot of startup and product culture in India. So we need to just highlight the differences. Many times, if you look at some of the people who are struggling for green card, they will say policies were much more messy during the earlier time. So it's just that they create that we are pro-immigrant, but it's not exactly pro-immigrant. They are more pro-illegal immigrant, and we need to understand the differentiation.
And so, bringing you in, with the reference to the Trump regime and what has he actually done for Indian Americans?
It's on several fold. I do think that having a great chemistry with Modi helps a lot, because I think post 2014 India is suddenly on the global stage.
Indeed.
And I think being an Indian in America, I see the difference in how Americans view India and also view Indians. As I mentioned before, we are the most educated and the wealthiest group. I think most Americans didn't know that, but I think now it's all showcased nicely. I think post-COVID, nobody wants a world that's run by China. And I think India and the US are ever so closer. I've always said that the world's oldest democracy and the world's largest democracy ought to work together. This is going to be the most strategic alliance of the next half century. And I think having leaders that get along with each other and like each other is actually a big part of that step forward. It helps the societies at large. The H-1B issue, it's ironic that it was the H-1B visas that were making America great again. You know, that's really the trump card for America: technological development and advancement. And I think, although unfortunate, if there is a stop to that in the future, what it would do for India is, I think it would let the best and the brightest in India stay in India and make India great again. So I think that would be the silver lining as far as if there was any issue with H-1B1 visas. I hope there isn't, because I think some would feel a little shortchanged with that, considering there's all sorts of illegal migration that happens in America that doesn't go that goes unnoticed in a way, or it's not really taken care of. But then they're so hard on this skilled labor situation, and quite frankly, I think this country needs immigration reforms. I think also there will be more Indian Americans possibly in the cabinet and so on, and a closer diplomatic ties between the two countries if Trump gets reelected. And who knows, that we might see an Indian American run for VP or president in 2024. I think a lot of people look at Nikki Haley as a top contender, and she's 100% Indian. So if you wanted an Indian woman, then you have an option. So I think things are looking good for us. Let's just see how things pan out. I think it's important that our community is having these very crucial conversations. I think they've never had these political conversations, and I don't think they've ever seen themselves in the middle of a major election.
For the outside world, from our perspective, looking in, you never think of Indian Americans. You always think of Canadian Indians, or Indians that are residing in Canada. I want to ask you, do Indians, are they perceived as people of color? And have you guys been affected by the Black Lives Matter movement? Are you guys part of that? And because there's a lot of hostile press, which Biden has been saying that, Trump is anti-people of color.
So Raj, let me talk about the perception first.
Please.
So somehow there is an echo. So the perception is of Indian. When I first came here in the 80s, we didn't have any CEOs. At that time, it was taken for granted that nobody of color, at least brown color, will be a CEO, until Pepsi CEO Indra Noor, she was the first one. And now you can see that their CEOs of all the major technology companies are Indians. So in politics, I think many people or Indians didn't bother to go. But now I'm very delighted to see that there are many, many Indian men and women going into politics in both parties. And I just met recently Swati Singh. She's a strategic director at RNC in the election campaign. And of course, Nikki Haley, we heard the name. There are, similarly, there are quite a few in a Democratic Party as well. So I think what Preeti said, it will make a big change if Indians started going into politics and having a voice there to change policies, like the policies of H-1B, or will it be replaced by another kind of policy to help immigrants come here? If Trump is right and he can create more jobs here, then he will need help from outside. And of course, India has the largest labor force in IT and other areas. So we have to be more assertive in local politics and local key play roles.
How are Indians treated in local politics? You know, by the general American public, be they Hispanic or like Christian, white, etc. How are Indians perceived? Are they perceived as an elitist group?
No, definitely, Kuldeep ji. So definitely, if you look at Indians are very much aware what is happening within the country, outside the country. They are highly techy and pretty coming for a very good educational background, and they have a pretty logical view. One of the thing, we do not act on emotion. If somebody is burning one book, we are going to put the city on fire. If you look at, there are no issues caused by Indian. In fact, a lot of like charity, a lot of social activities are run by Indian. So people realize these contribution done by Indian. People realize their nature, and people realize their technical and educational, academic kind of like excellence, and they are highly respected. And definitely, whenever we put our view forward, people listen to it. So that is a very, very good thing in the sense we are not seen more on the like creating nuisance and noise and creating disturbances. We are seen somebody who understands and somebody who gives a like a thought behind their actions and very well respected. So I am very much hopeful in coming future. We are going to play a very critical and major role in defining the policies within the country and outside the country.
So could you, for the general population who are watching, who are not aware of this, how does this system work? Why are Indians in certain states the key deciding factor of who could win? It's something to do with your electoral colleges? How does it work? Because like Biden might get the popular vote, but he won't be president. I don't understand all this. Please explain in simplistic terms.
I think which states are swing states, Raviji?
Yeah, so definitely, I think that's what where we started in the beginning, Kuljit ji. So basically, what is happening? Indian population in the some of the swing states, they are making big difference, and this time what is happening? The gap, like how the election was like close last time, and then the presence of our like Indian population, and then looking at the fact that Trump versus like Biden, like pro-India versus like somebody standing with China versus who is standing with us. So people are having a very close concern on like U.S. president views on this policy. So whatever happened, 77 like percent to 80% to 20% swing. This time there's a good chance it might go to like 60-40% or maybe 50-50. So we cannot like impact all the people, but we can educate the people who are very receptive and who can separate the fact from data and who can clearly see who is standing behind the action with India.
Yeah, I want to take quite a contentious issue as well. It's, Biden has been now, there are lots of Indians who are Muslim, and he's been very conciliatory towards them, especially the progressive Democrats. Is that going to be a factor that splits the Indian American vote?
I think it will, because I feel like there is let's say a Hindu chunk of the Indian American diaspora, which actually is probably over 85%, right. Considering India is over 85% Hindu. And I think this group, although they're very fair, they're logical, of course, they're very open and tolerant, I think they see some kind of hypocrisy perhaps, because they feel like Biden and the Biden campaign and the DNC, even as on their manifesto, they spoke a lot on what they're going to do for other minorities and other religious minorities. But when it comes to just India or just Hindus and Sikhs, maybe it's much smaller, because they realize that with certain religious groups, they vote as a bloc. The Indian diaspora does not vote as a bloc, and it's much more individualistic. They're much more diverse in their viewpoints, so they can't be sort of depended on, in the sense, in a way that other groups can. So I think from my own involvement with a lot of grassroots groups, Indian and Hindu groups too, they do feel that they want someone who's going to be fair with policy and fair in understanding the issues in the subcontinent, fair in understanding the cross-border terrorism that we face, not just in India, but also in America. I think the beauty of India and America is they have common threats and shared threats. Let's say they're kind of working on the same problems. China and this sort of form of religious terrorism, and so the community wants sort of I don't think they want special treatment. I just think they want fairness, which they haven't always got from the DNC recently, and some of the sort of their attitudes on things and so on. And the Electoral College, although flawed, it's fair in the sense that it's a Pan-American. It's not just New York and California that gets to decide who the next president will be. It's that tiny, Wisconsin or small American states that where their voice is just as important. And during this election, it's those 5 swing states where there is a sizable Indian American community. And Trump only needs maybe 100,000 votes to get over the line, because the margins were very small in 2016. So this is where I think our community can really chip in and get him across the line if they come together and vote as a bloc. So I think this is sort of a challenge for us if we really want that very strong India-US relationship moving forward and better foreign policy for everyone. We must come together and make this happen. I think this is the thinking of many Indian Americans right now.
But from India's perspective, if Biden won, could Modi, with his great personal rapport with Trump, could he make it work with Biden for India and for America?
Yeah, I think it will work. I mean, but it's not that it won't work. I mean, I don't think American policy is going to change radically, but on some policies, there will be some differences, like he has been very clear on Kashmir policy. I don't know if he will support India at the same level if it comes to China. So there may be a rebalancing of the policies or rebalancing of the relationship. But I think India and China will continue to be kind of together in the foreseeable future, whoever the president is. Of course, we know where Trump stands. Biden, sometimes, I don't know what to say. Like, he gives some lollipops. He will send messages on, Ganesh Chaturdathi, or he will send messages on Indian Independence Day. And those are like, people make a big deal out of that. It's like emotional India or emotional us, and we get emotionally attached to that. But is that what we should decide our votes on? And I would say, being rational is important. Not just being emotional.
So I want to ask you, why was
the one you said lollipop, and people, that is a very good way to summarize the thing. What this small gesture basically means.
I want to ask you, India for years was quite isolated. The whole American establishment was very, not anti-India, but wasn't doing anything for India. What was it in Trump that made him change that view, and he's still fighting against it? The reason I'm asking, because you've also got the Congress elections as well, and there's talk in the press that the Senate might become Democratic as well, even if Trump wins. And what effect would that happen for India?
Yeah, I think it would be counterproductive if you have the House and the Senate Democrat regardless of whether Trump wins or not, because at that point, getting things across and getting bills signed and all that will not be that easy. So I hope that we have checks and balances. I hope we do have we have the Republicans who are majority in one of the areas and the Democrats a majority in the other. And I think with Trump, he has made it very clear that China is the big enemy and that India is going to be more than just somebody's on whose shoulder he can shoot at or take aim at China with. He realizes that being closer to India is going to hurt China. He gets that. I think with Biden, he sort of goes, he's just too lackadaisical on, his China policy. And we don't see such clarity. And it's going to be a bit problematic if you don't realize what an ally India is to the US in countering China. In fact, I think the only counter to China is India, because in that region, they cannot be two superpowers. And as long as India is there, China will never be the king. And China knows that. Right. So India finds itself in a beautiful geopolitical spot right now, where I think it is kind of people want it to step up in many ways. But I think a pro-India president is only going to make it that much easier. And you have the opposite situation where you've got sort of someone who's a little bit antagonistic and always looking over India to, and trying to virtue signal to India. The problem is it becomes an obstacle for India to do what it needs to do for its own future and to, it's already going in the right direction.
Do you know what? I've just been told, I have to stop you there. I've just been told in my ear we've got about 4 minutes. I don't know where the time's gone. This has been absolutely fascinating. In the last 3-4 minutes, I want each of you to give your predictions of what's going to happen and what you would like to happen and what the best thing about being an American Indian is. Let's start with Krishnan.
I'll be short and sweet. I mean, I think there is a victory for Trump coming. The numbers are now shifting. I mean, after his convention, and they have been more like proactive, like what they will do and giving hopes to Americans, whereas the Biden camp has been more what Trump has done wrong kind of scenario. And I think it will continue to be good relations with India and US no matter what, but it will be easier if there is a Trump victory.
So that's your opinion. And Priti, what about yourself?
Taught us anything. It's taught us to think about the kind of world we want running, to think about the kind of world we want to live in, and to think about the powers running it. I have been predicting that Trump will get 2 terms since 2016. I have not changed on my stance. I think the global movement in terms of issues such as nationalism, populism is in globalization, big question mark, especially post-COVID. I think that Trump has the momentum that he needs. I do see him winning. I think this will be better for India in the long run. And I think the best thing about being Indian American is I get to be a proud Indian as well as a proud American. And we know that together we can make this a better world. And you look at the powers in the world that can actually affect the world at large. You need the scale and the scope. And you need a democracy, and you need large and old democracies. So I think we are sitting pretty right now. Let's hope that doesn't change. So I'm predicting Trump all the way.
Another Trump one. And Ravinder, for you?
Certainly, I am very much hopeful, and the way now that this debate are going to start, and people are going to see, they are going to talk on the policies, they are going to reflect like what they have done, and they are going to talk like more on the exact like things done instead of more superficial thing. And people are realizing some of the very key, the way mayors from Democratic Party has managed their different city and the whatever like havoc they have been like going on. So people are very much due to COVID-19, there was a small setback. Maybe some people were thinking it could have been done in better way, but there is no absolute better way. So now people are realizing the lot many other side, and definitely we are now the gaps are also closing in the polls and all that, and the momentum is very much upswing for Trump.
For Trump. So all three of you think Mr. Trump will regain the seat. So Trump's Taj Mahal will come true again.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I've been very good. You know what? It's been an honor and such an insight from. It's the first time I've actually really talked in depth to Indian Americans and how important that, how powerful we are. I have to say, thank you so much indeed. Thank you for being part of the first show of Rajneeti. I apologise about my ignorance. Thank you for filling me in, and hopefully for the audience worldwide as well. You've been watching Rajneeti with me, Raj from Raj and Pablo, with live guests from America. It's been a privilege and honour to be on here. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Let's see what happens. The panel here have said it's going to be a Trump victory. 6 more weeks to go, 5 more programmes. See you soon. I'm Raj, and make sure you stay tuned to MATV, a leader in Indian entertainment. Namaste, everybody. Thank you. And God bless America.
Yes, God